بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. When it comes to the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi أفضل الصلاة والسلام, we find a lot of emphasis from the Imams, peace and blessings be upon them all. In fact, not just from the Imams that came after him, but even those that came before him, as well as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. One way in which we can look at the emphasis of the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein is by actually looking at the history of his ziyarah. When we look at the history of his ziyarah, we understand the emphasis of his ziyarah. Another way is through the narrations and through the thawab that you get from the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, which both of the latter ones which we will discuss at a later time inshallah. As for the history, when you look at the history of his ziyarah, it isn't just something that started after his martyrdom. Rather, you would find that even before his martyrdom, it is narrated to us that there wasn't a single prophet except that he would pass by the location of the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi afdalus salati wassalam. And to that there is a great indication, such that even when Imam al-Hussein has not even been martyred yet, but just about knowing of the place of his grave, you'll find that every single prophet would pass by that site in order to perform the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. Another time you would find that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdalus salati wassalam actually would come to the grave of Imam al-Hussein after the battle of Siffin. When he finished from that battle, he made sure that he would pass by the land of Karbala. Then he would come by the soil on which Imam al-Hussein will be martyred, and the soil under which Imam al-Hussein would be buried. And he would take that sand and he would start to weep and cry for what would happen to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Also a form of ziyarah, in the sense that ziyarah comes from the root word zara. Zara means to visit. So when you attend at a specific place, you have done ziyarah of that specific place. So ziyarah does not necessarily have to be with reading something specific. No, by attending at that specific place, you have performed ziyarah. Just like, for example, when you go to someone's house as a guest, you have done ziyarah of that specific person. We would say that person zara the other person. So by the attendance of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdal salatu wassalam, and by the attendance of the other prophets salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'een, you will find that they had all come and attended by that grave to visit Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. Then after his martyrdom, it is narrated to us that in the ziyarah of Arba'in, the first of whom would arrive at the land of Karbala is Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. When he attends at the land of Karbala, he would perform his ghusl, and then with his servant Atiya al-Awfi, they would go to search for the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, by which they would sit and weep and cry, and he would start to say some famous lines. And then after which the caravan would return from the city of Sham, and they would all attend at the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, becoming the first ziyarah of Imam al-Husayn 40 days after his martyrdom. Now when I say Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari would attend, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari is not a normal companion of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He himself has his lofty status amongst the companions. He himself is known to be of the closest to Rasulullah and of the closest to the Ahlul Bayt. And surely he wouldn't just go to the land of Karbala for the sake of going to the land of Karbala. Secondly, if it was wrong for him to be at that place, Imam Zayn al-Abidin surely would have told him, why are you here? Rather, Imam Zayn al-Abidin would welcome him and he would mourn with him and he would take him around the land. Emphasis of the ziyarah. Moreover, you will find that during the Banu Umayyah time, Banu Umayyah tried to make it difficult, and we are still in the time of Banu Umayyah here. They tried to make it difficult. But we have narrations that people still came to visit Imam al-Hussein. How? They used to hide and make sure in the night when no one is around, they would come by the grave, and we have many lines of poetry of poets during that time reciting poetry there. Then come the Abbasids. During the Abbasids' time, they tried to erase the remembrance of Imam al-Hussein many times, but they failed as many times. For Sayyidah Zainab herself told the whole world that by Allah, He will never erase our remembrance. And you would find that multiple caliphs from that caliphate would actually demolish the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, or would oppress the zuwar, the people who would come to visit Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. And the most famous of which is during the time of al-Mutawakkil al-Abbasi. It is narrated that al-Mutawakkil al-Abbasi, may Allah withdraw His mercy from him, he would demolish the grave of Imam al-Hussein 4 times. Imagine, during his life, he would demolish the grave of Imam al-Hussein 4 times. What kind of hatred did this man have towards Imam al-Hussein? Not only would he demolish the grave of Imam al-Hussein, and not only would he try to hide its location, but even the visitors of Imam al-Hussein, he would oppress them. So, some of them he started with cutting their hands, and the zuwar of Abu Abdullah would come and give their hands. That, here, cut my hands, I want to visit my master. Then he said, I'm going to kill them, and people still came to visit Imam al-Hussein. Until one of the people around him, one of his ministers, said to him, O Mutawakkil, you know, we are killing them, but they are still coming. We are cutting their hands, they are still coming. Why don't we impose a fee such that we as a government, even if they come, we will have more money? And if they don't come, maybe the poor will not be able to come, so we'll definitely make less people come. He thought about it, he said, this is a good idea. So he imposed the fee of 100 dinar, and people still used to come, preparing the 100 dinar to give to the government in order to visit the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. To the extent where there was a woman that would come from the side of Iran. They would look at her, she can barely walk, she has no camel to ride on, she has come from a far distance, walking, a hunched back. They said, surely this woman wouldn't have the 100 dinar, does she even know? Mutawakkil said, bring her. They would bring her to the castle of the caliph of the time, and he would sit there and he would say, do you know, where have you come from? She said, from Iran. He said to her, why do you not have a camel to ride on? She said to him, I cannot afford that camel. He said to her, you cannot afford the camel, but did you know that there is a fee for those who visit the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? She said to him, yes, I do. So he's confused. He said, you cannot even afford a camel, and there is a large fee to visit Imam al-Hussein. Where are you going to get this money from? She would take out a pouch in which there was the exact amount of the fee, and she would give it to al-Mutawakkil. Here he became furious, very angry, that how did you even manage to get all of this money? And why would you leave everything just to... She said to him, O Mutawakkil, when I heard that there was a fee imposed on the zuwar of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, I worked my days and my nights. I worked my days and my nights in order to gather money, in order to pay this fee and come to the grave and attend by the grave of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalu salati wassalam. And when I heard the caravan that they were leaving to Karbala, I said, I must join this caravan immediately. And so I did, and now I am here. Mutawakkil al-Abbasi, being the oppressor that he was, may Allah withdraw His mercy from him, he ordered for her to be thrown in the river, and she would be in that river, and she would turn around to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. She would tell him, Oh Abu Abdullah, I have sacrificed everything to be here, please do accept my ziyarah. And what a great lady that was. Now, you might ask me, what does this have to do with the emphasis of the ziyarah? During all of this oppression, you will find that none of the Imams would ever tell their Shia to not visit the grave of Imam al-Hussein. In fact, Even when Imam al-Hadi alayhi afdal salatu wassalam is asked that they are cutting our hands, should we go? He said, yes, you should go. No one would ever, none of the Imams would ever tell their Shia to not go. And in modern history, by the way, something very similar happened with the Ba'ath party during the time of Saddam Hussein. May Allah withdraw His mercy from him. He also tried to not allow the Shia to attend at the grave of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He would kill those who would come on the way. He would perform all kinds of oppression. And people used to still flock, walking from Najaf to Karbala, through the desert, in places where they would not be seen, just to attend at the grave of Imam al-Hussein, walking on foot. And guess what? The emphasis on the ziyarah, none of the maraja have ever said that do not visit the grave of Imam al-Hussein. Why? Because we find that in our sunnah, in the ways of the infallibles, in their speech and in their actions and in their approval, none of them have ever denied or told anyone to stay away from the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salati wassalam. So what status does this ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein have? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to be of the visitors of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi afdal salati wassalam. Hadha walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wassalatu wassalam ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin.
I long for Bainul Haramain. My heart is with Abbas and Husayn. Karbala, Karbala, Allahumma rzuqna Karbala, Karbala, Allahumma rzuqna Karbala. My journey from here starts between the moon and the stars. 'Tis that I cry on my cheeks, crying for your dome it seeks. My master, come see these tears, come and save me from my fears. Karbala.